Hello, Soldiers Angels family, and welcome back to another episode of Tribute to Our Heroes. Our next guest is an Army veteran who had the bravery and the courage to join our enlisted services 2 times in his life, once right out of high school and one time again at the age of 44. He is a person of very strong will, natural talent to lead and to inspire. He is extremely intuitive with who he is and passionate about the things that he wants to carry out. He has been volunteering with us here at Soldiers Angels for years. He's constantly in and out at the office at the mobile food distributions here in San Antonio. And he's just a pleasure to get to know and to talk to. And it is my honor today to speak with him and to share his story with all of you guys. So thank you so much for tuning in. I'd like to welcome Mr. David Avila. Mr. David Avila, thank you so much for coming.
Yes, sir.
Thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate you coming in and taking the time off just to talk to us and whatnot. I know you're a familiar face here at Soldiers Angels. People know you. We're all familiar, like, oh, David's here again. But for everybody at home watching, go ahead and just let us know who you are and what you do.
I'm David Avila. I'm retired from the United States Army. Let me see, for about 7 years now, I've been volunteering with Soldiers Angels. It's a nonprofit organization just helping out veterans, families of veterans, deployed veterans, just about every type of military type of family we support here at Soldiers Angels. My life started when I was a kid. I always wanted to be a soldier. Mm-hmm. I watched the movie To Hell and Back with Audio Murphy, and that inspired me to be a soldier.
Oh, okay.
It really pushed my heart to want to do something. And when I was in high school, I was in ROTC for 2 years. When I graduated, I went straight to basic training, and I did my 4 years.
How old were you when you saw that movie?
Woo, man.
If you can kind of give me a rough estimate.
10?
10?
Yeah.
Also, those formative years where you're like, really, like, that was cool. That stuck out to you.
All my friends were doing cowboys and Indians.
Yeah.
And I was more interested in
being a soldier.
Being a soldier.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So even at a young age, it kind of struck out to you.
Oh, yeah.
And it just kind of built it up until then, right? Okay, gotcha. So obviously that stayed with you.
Oh, yes.
Obviously you go into our ROTC in high school. Was that the only reason you wanted to join? Or was there like maybe a little bit more? Did you find your reason grew as you got older too?
Being in the city of San Antonio, you go downtown, you'll see the uniforms, and that too pushed me to want to join. Just seeing the uniforms, I thought that wearing a uniform representing the American flag was something special. Not everybody can do it. Not everybody's made to be a soldier.
Absolutely.
But that's what inspired me, just the city itself and all the stuff they do for the military here.
Gotcha.
It took a while before the city of San Antonio acknowledged military city USA. And when first time I got out in 1982, I'd go downtown and I'd see the uniforms, and I would cry because it's like, man, that was me. I had a uniform for 4 years. That was me. And not to be able to put that uniform on again, it really, really hurt.
Gotcha. Yeah. So that'll get into your story later. So for sure you joined out of high school and you served for 4 years at that time, right? What year was that? Like
from 78 to 82.
Gotcha. And that was your Army, right? And what did you do? I guess sum up that deployment. What was that like? Or that enlistment?
It was peacetime. I was stationed at Fort Cavazos. And actually my job was to be a quartermaster and chemical specialist. And because there was too many, so they put me doing jobs like working in the office with the first sergeant, working in personnel administration, the motor pool. I was in charge of thousands and thousands of dollars worth of equipment. Yeah. I was doing an E6 job.
Gotcha.
Getting paid as an E4.
Oh, wow.
But so I did a lot of extracurricular stuff. I did funeral details. I was in charge of the funeral details, color guard, drill team.
Gotcha. Okay.
Volleyball team.
Wow.
So yeah, they had me pretty spread out.
Spread out. Gotcha. So I'm trying to. So I guess we'll get into the rest of it. For those of y'all who don't know, big plot reveal. David actually joined back again much later in life at the age of, I have noted here, at 44. Am I correct?
Yes.
Okay, so I want to get to that because when I do that is, I find that to be the most interesting part of your military career, which is crazy. So after the first initial 4 years, what do you get out? What do you end up doing, and what leads you going to go back?
Once I got out, I was supposed to go to Germany, but that was not happening. I ended up going to Georgia, and my brother, his wife lived there, and we moved in. It's me, my wife, and my daughter. And I had been to Georgia before when I was younger, and I ran into this couple that I knew when we were kids. Hey, so where you staying at? Blah blah blah. And I told them, and they invited me to church with my family. I had never been to a church other than Catholic church. So here I am with 5,000 people at this big old church. And I don't think I lasted that long in Georgia. I got a calling, and it's weird because I don't even know what that meant. Yeah. Back then, a calling. God wants me to go back home.
Really?
Yeah.
Just that like intuitive feeling?
Yes. I'm like,
gotcha.
And the associate pastor's like, why would you say you had a calling? I said, I don't know what that means, but I just know that I got to go back home.
That's crazy. Yeah.
So, I packed my stuff. We head back to San Antonio. And ended up staying at my dad's house for a little bit. And my stepmom goes, David, Gasper's calling for you. Gasper? I haven't seen Gasper in years. How does he even know I'm here? So
was that your friend in Georgia?
No, this is a friend I grew up with.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Okay.
So I said, hello, it's David. I said, yeah, it's Gasper. Gasper, hey, how's it going? What's going on? Hey, I want you to come to our church. I'm like, how do you know I was here? How do you know about church, right?
Yeah.
So that going back to that calling, that was like something that's like, wow.
Isn't it crazy how an intuitive feeling for a lot of people can often change a person's trajectory in life?
Yes.
And it's like you have no real reason, but other than just this innate feeling, and somehow that led you to doing a lot of different things and going back into the Army, I'm assuming, right? Too. Yeah. Okay. So sorry to cut you off. I just think it's super interesting.
No, it was just so awesome because we ended up going to the church. It was a small little church. And a few months later, I became a youth minister.
Wow.
That's like, who would have thought, me, a youth minister, me and my wife back then. And it was just like, that was a calling. That's the thing about this calling. I was being called to come work with the youth, So I had, like 30 teenagers, and all we did was talk about the Bible. And I wasn't that type of preacher or minister or whatever that would try to use a storyline, but a lifeline to teach these kids,
gotcha,
the right direction. But yeah, so that was like, wow.
Pivotal moment. A pivotal moment.
Pivotal.
Makes sense. Yeah. So for sure, like you're doing that. You're back here in San Antonio because you just had the calling to come home to do that.
Right.
Some time passes. When is the next time that I guess that calling, so to speak, to go back into the military? What was that? How did that come about?
My son David was about almost a year when 9/11 happened, and we were sitting in my den. I was holding my son and I was watching the TV, and I was like in awe. And I'm watching the towers, and my mother-in-law comes down. David, we're watching TV. And I said, yeah, I'm watching it now. And not long after that, we went to, my wife back then went to a job fair. And at this job fair, I saw a recruiter. I was, oh, what the heck? Let me go see. So I went up to the recruiters, excuse me, I said, in my prior service, I'd like to re-enlist, go fight in Iraq. He looked at me and goes, how old are you? I said, 44. He goes, the cutoff's 37. I said, if I give you my DD-214, will you do your job? Just do your typing and go from there. He says, okay, meet me in my office on Tuesday. It was on Thursday. So I went, did paperwork. And 9 months later, I went to MEPS. I passed everything, of course, and ASVAB, I had to do everything. And sworn. 3 months later, I'm in Iraq.
That's absolutely crazy. What rank did you? I just had a curiosity when you went back in and everything.
Yeah, they of course they take away. I was still a corporal, and when I came back in, it was a PFC.
Oh, okay.
An E3. So you're looking at a 44-year-old E3.
Man,
no respect. You know, everybody looking down at me like, "Hey, old man."
I know. I was like, I bet they had a lot of fun with you.
Yeah, they did. But and you know, I said, this old man is going to protect you when you're over there.
Man.
So be careful how you talk to this old man. But these kids became friends. They realized that, hey, you know what? This dude, you know, he's for real.
Yeah.
He's for real. He came back in.
Exactly.
It says a lot, right? And these kids were buying blades, and I'm going to cut that record's head open. So the first time we get hit by a suicide car bomb or whatever, and bombed, I said, where'd they go? Where's all these knives? He just purchased it at the PX.
Yeah.
Where's the use of it? You're just like, anyway. But so yeah, it was a challenge too, because I mean, you think about 44, and I got 18, 19-year-olds.
Yeah.
Right, and they put us on duty. Had made no sense. We're in a compound, protected. They made us wear all our gear, 105, 110. And just walking on the perimeter. Like, what are we guarding? But yeah,
That's how you got back in, huh?
Yeah. Yeah, we went to Fort Sill, Oklahoma to prepare for war. We had to go to all this extensive training, which is a waste of time because when you're in Fort Sill, the temperature there's like we're in the winter, it's cold, it's snowing. So, I
could see why,
like, so why are we training in the winter? Well, we're gonna go to the desert.
Yeah.
And we were there for a few months training. We boarded and head out to first stop we made was Ireland. Ireland, Italy, Kuwait. And once we got to Kuwait, we got set up. We had to wait till they had an actual place for us to go in Iraq. So some were in convoy. Some of us were Chinooked in. Majority of the women were Chinooked in because the convoys, I don't know, it was too dangerous. I couldn't figure it out. But it was, I guess my last name, Avila. Had me on the convoy all the time.
Really?
Avila, get your stuff together. You're on the convoy. Avila. I already got my stuff together. You're going to call me. But my job there was to fix machines that, like for, let's say, a fuel station. So my machines would actually pull the fuel out and so I can put it into the vehicles. Well, with all the sandstorms, all my equipment's got full of sand.
Oh, that's not
so let's just say I had 4 machines. I'm working on one. By the time I got to the next one, the sand comes.
Gotcha.
That's probably why they put me on convoys. They said, well, you can't fix these things anyway.
Yeah, it's like, might as well have something to do, right?
Yeah.
So while you were out there, I mean, did you see any kind of combat? And if so, like, I mean, how was it for you being an older man versus how some of the younger guys took it? You know what I mean? Like, what was your experience in that moment, in those moments?
I think, you know, of course, being at 44, these guys, 18, 19-year-olds, they have probably the mentality of, you know, like, well, I'm from the hood, you know, blah, blah, blah. But when reality kicks in, when you're in the hood, yeah, you can probably go shooting, you know, innocent people, drive-bys and stuff. But when you're getting shot back, there's a difference. You know, reality kicks in. This is when you feel the boom, the piercing, the rounds going off, boom, 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 and then you're getting bombed and your body is shaking because the ground is just moving everywhere. This is when you see these kids lock up and freeze. So what happened to the hood?
Yeah,
you know, and that's where the age comes in. You know, at 44, I've been through a lot. You know, if I can tell you my life story, I've been through a lot.
Okay.
Mentally, physically, it's just, I've been through a lot. And when I went to Iraq, I knew what I was getting myself into. Chance of coming home was 50-50. But I was going to do my best to keep these kids alive. And the combat, the times when there was, you know, direct fire or whatever, I made sure that my guys were going to be taken care of.
Gotcha.
Whether it be, firing back at the enemy, keeping them low. When we got hit by the suicide car bomb, my driver, we're the last truck. We had a 5-ton. We had 6 M16s, a 50 caliber, Mark 19, and then myself and the driver. And when the suicide car bomb hit the fuel truck in front of us, my driver freaked turn and my door flew open. When it never opens, and I fly out. Hand first, I land, my body flips over it, and the hand was just all loose.
Wow.
But I get up, I shook it off, I get up on M16, and I'm running towards the cab. And I open the door, it's like, the soldiers aren't in there. The windshield had been blown out, and I hear from the back, Avila, we got him. It's like, oh, good. So I came back, the suicide car bomb that hit the truck was still attached to it. There was a body on the actual hood, dead body, Iraqi, and grabbed it by the shoulders and I drug it across the road. And there was another Iraqi on the side screaming and yelling. And a sergeant out of nowhere comes down, I got him, I got him. I was taking him, or I take him out. And then I look where the glass had been blown out and there's a lady and a baby in the backseat. Oh, man. And I was like, oh man. So I went around and I tried to open the door, but because of the fire, the heat was just so strong on my hand. All my arms got singed. The heat was so just like powerful. I got back to the front, came to the side, tried to do the same thing, couldn't do it. And my mind was saying, do I shoot him, kill him, so they don't suffer? But in my head, I was thinking, you're going to go to prison if you do. Because everything is just so, you never know what to expect. So I said, God, I'm sorry, but I'm not a hero. I can't do this. So I sat there and watched this lady and the baby burn to death. We had to sit there for 9 hours till everything was down to metal.
Oh, man.
At the same time, the fuel truck, I hear from a distance, Avila, get back, it's gonna blow. And it's like, there's no fuel. No, there's 1,100 rounds inside the cab. I'm like, so the 5-ton, the door to get up is right where the latch is at, on top. So I had to jump with this hand.
Your broken hand? Yeah.
And I said, help! And the guys pulled me over. I said, everybody get down. Carry along top of you here, put down. And you hear, bling, bling, bling.
Jesus.
And we just sat there. And they're like, what is it, Avila? I said, there was 1,100 rounds in that cab. And once the fire got to it,
they just went off. Oh, man. That's horrifying.
And if I would have been standing where I was standing, I would have been riddled.
You wouldn't be here right now. Oh, my God.
No,
that's crazy.
I tell you something, though. That moment made me realize that, somebody's watching over me still. And I go back to that calling, He called me back then. He called me to war. He's not going to let nothing happen to me. That moment, these soldiers realized the reality of where we're at. Before it was just play. We'd stop, places, we'd get, just regular stuff. But when we actually get hit and the reality kicks in, they're like, oh man, Avila, thank you so much.
Everything switched.
Yeah, everything switched to a thank you. It's like, now you don't have to thank me. He said, yeah, but if you wouldn't have said nothing, we would have been all shot.
So do you think that because of your age and your life experiences, even as I'm assuming you were E3 at that time still, right? Yeah, you were basically a leader to a lot of these other soldiers that were there, even if that might have been higher ranked than you, right? Yeah, gotcha.
I mean, even if you're the sergeant, and at the age of they were a sergeant, they may have been military sergeants, but as far as civilian type of sergeants, the difference.
Yeah.
You have to have, just like in every day, your life, if you're not trained out here the way the military trains you, it's not gonna go. Yeah. And these sergeants and E6, they can be 25, 30 years old, but they don't have the mentality of street smart. Yeah. I guess the best way to put it, street smart.
Yeah. It's all by the book, a little too much.
That's
Yeah,
right.
a little too much. Yeah, I got you.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I definitely think that you know the book exists for a reason. You know what I mean, and
Yeah.
it has its place. But I do think that street smart or common sense or just kind of thinking adaptable, being
Yes.
on your feet. You know, that a lot of that comes with age and just life experiences and learning. And then obviously when you apply that to a situation like that, you know, everything gets sorted out. Whoever has their head on straight is going to be the one to take the lead. And in that moment, it was you. And so they all saw you that way. Man, that's insane. What kind of, well, obviously your first enlistment was extremely different from your
yes.
second enlistment. You know what I mean? And I do think, and so I guess I'm wondering, after you got out of the military from your second enlistment, what kind of differences, I guess, was it like to transition out of that one versus the first one?
Oh, like the transitioning from actual the war type compared to the I call it the civilian type.
Yeah,
because there's two differences. Getting out of the military after doing 4 years, I realized that the job that I had in the military, my MOS, military occupational service, was not going to be the same on the outside. You know, doing 4 years of one thing and then having to adapt to a civilian type of job, it was hard. You know, and then when I came back in, and once I got out of the hospital system, the transition to, again, a civilian type world was difficult.
yeah,
You know, you're trained to be a certain way in the military, so you take that with you with your job, right? But a lot of times, some corporate they don't understand that, and they try to manipulate and try to change the way you do things, see things. It took a while. I was doing telephone sales for a while. My friends, hey David, you found this job and man, pay good money. So I went and I had no idea what telephone sales was. And my first job was to go get contracts, having people switch the telephone company from Southwestern Bell to, let's say, ChoiceCom. And they're like, of course, you had to, give this feel about ChoiceCom. Who's ChoiceCom? Where'd they come from? Right? Why are you here? Right?
yeah, yeah.
So in that transition, in my mind, I'm thinking, man, I said, when did I ever do this in the Army? I didn't do this stuff in the Army.
Yeah.
But so it did pretty good. I started making good money.
Gotcha.
But like, let's just say, for instance, a colonel.
Yeah.
After 20 plus years in the military, gets out of the military, transitions to the civilian world. What kind of job is he going to live for?
Yeah.
A CEO? It's
difficult. Yeah, it is difficult.
Because,
Yep.
You got 20 plus years in the military, you come out to the civilian world and you're like, what kind of job can I do?
They're just two different worlds completely. That,
Very, very
yeah,
different. Yeah,
it doesn't translate well.
I've known a lot of colonels and majors, and they're like, man, the transition is just like, horrible.
Yeah.
You go find a job, it's like, because you're making all this money in the military, and now you're going to be making half of that?
Yeah. Pay cut.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
And then you don't have the benefits, you don't have this, you don't have that. So it's like, the transitioning, not only from a job aspect, but also the expenses. You're in the military, you got medical coverage. You got housing, you got everything. So when you become a civilian, you're like,
where am I going to get all that? Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah,
So
for sure.
You have to find a company that provides all that.
Yeah, it's a tough transition, definitely. Even for military members who maybe they didn't have a crazy enlistment, they didn't go see war. Even that they still do like 8 years. That's still a long time for you becoming accustomed of how things done. Certain things kind of already a certain way, and then like you said, you get out and it's just what do I go? What do I do? And it's like you can't learn all that in like 1 or 2 classes that they give you when you process out.
And here's a perfect example. A musician. A musician has been doing nothing but playing in bands. So the band no longer exists. What kind of job are you going to do?
True.
How are you going to transition from being a musician all your life to
telephone sales? Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I got you. There's a huge adjustment that's really hard for a lot of people.
Yes.
Do you think that through your second deployment and after like seeing combat and stuff like that, did that sort of affect you outside of it?
It did affect me in a sense, and I think what stuck with me the most was that part where the baby and the lady. I remember my son. He was 4, going on 5, and I took him to see Spider-Man, the first one that came out, and we're sitting at the theater, and this is when I first realized that I had PTSD. There was an explosion and fire, and my body just, I stopped breathing, a split second. I had to
Gotcha.
breathe back again, and my son just looked at me, and I was like, oh Lord, what happened here? So I had to go back and try to refocus on this movie. Try to see if I could sit through the movie after watching that.
Yeah.
But that's when I realized, wow, that really affected me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Something's lingering.
Yeah,
No,
it's still
absolutely.
there. And of course, you get all this medication, but I don't take the medication that been subscribed to me because I find myself more zombied out, not living life. So I do everything for myself. I train my body to accept and erase the things, and that's been like to 20 years now.
Yeah, I would say that was a
years.
long time ago because I know that first Spider-Man. I'm assuming you're meaning like the very first ones in the early 2000s, right?
Yeah.
That's a long time. So, I mean, would you say that between now and then you've really found a way to kind of move on with it? Maybe, I don't know if cope would be the right word. What would you describe it as?
I'd say cope because like right now, one of the things that really, really helps me cope with everything that's going on is I have a lot of stuff going on. I mean, I love to do what I do. Soldiers Angels has opened a whole different type of door for me. I've always wanted to do for my veterans, the families, and Soldiers Angels actually gave me the opportunity to do what I love to do, give back to my veterans. I remember the time when I didn't know where I was going to get my food from. Yes, I do get paid, but there was a point where everything was overwhelming, and it's like, man. But Soldiers Angels came through. They gave me groceries. They took care of me. And that's one of the things about Soldiers Angels. They take care of our veterans.
Yeah.
And that's why it's so important for me to be part of this type of organization. As long as we can do something for our veterans, I'm there. No matter what it is, I'm there. Thanks to Soldiers Angels because they give me that opportunity.
Hey man, thank you for saying that. And thank you for sharing everything. I know it can be a little difficult to talk about these sort of things, but we want to help veterans. And a lot of the times, hearing somebody else's story will make somebody feel comfortable to talk about their own if they've experienced something. So, that's really the main intention with all these things and why I even want to touch on it. So don't ever feel like you have to share. If you want to restrain or keep things out, I'm not going to hold it against you, man.
But something I'd like to add, when I was in the hospital, I don't know if I told you this, I was in the hospital system for 26 months, 20-something surgeries, right? But during the times that I was like off, but they had a 30-day off, whatever.
Was this for your arm? I'm just curious.
The whole body.
Oh, everything? Oh, okay, gotcha. Yeah, well, that makes sense.
That 2 surgeries.
Yeah.
But I would host barbecues for the injured. So I had a van. They pick up the wounded warriors, and they didn't call them wounded warriors back then, but they called them, I just called them my soldiers. Male, female, they would come to my house. I had all this barbecue, sodas, water, all the food they want to eat. We sit in the round table outside, umbrellas going on, music flowing in the background real low. I said, okay guys, this is a time when you can talk to each other, share each other's experience, and let's go from there.
Wow.
Man, tell you what, they were able to talk about their experience because they knew that person, that soldier right there, had been in the same
They understood.
place. They understand each other. So the newspaper found out. Port Time Houston. And they asked, hey, can we come to your house and take pictures, blah, blah, blah. I said, well, you can come, but I'm going to have to get you to sign a release and make sure that they're okay with it. Man, as soon as she came and They saw the camera, they fell in love with it.
Wow.
So they were taking pictures, they were telling their stories. The stories that came out on the newspaper, I said, that paper, that's for life for you.
Man.
You save this because this is your story. And you are able to talk about it. You can share it. And that's the best way, to me, for therapy, is the more you speak about your experience, the less it's going to be in your system.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's incredible, dude. And it's so, I just think it's amazing to hear because, I do these interviews with veterans, and whenever they talk about finding a way to live on with PTSD or finding a way to move on from it or heal, it always comes down to that. I want to share my story because every time I share, I feel better. Yeah. And it's like, and then even a few other ones would say, like, volunteering with you guys helps me feel better because you're kind of healing that wound and you're helping others that are also maybe experiencing something similar that you've gone through. Yeah. So, yeah. No, that's incredible, man. Thank you so much for... I feel like if Soldiers Angels wasn't around, David Avila would have made his own Soldiers Angels at some point.
Would,
yeah.
Yes. Everybody's like, David, there's something. God wants you to do something. And I think this is what God wants me to do.
Yeah.
I really do because it brings me such pleasure, to help. Like when I do the homeless veterans dinner and bingo, these guys, like, they just light up when they see me. They know, hey, we're gonna have a blast.
Yeah, man.
Yes, it's great.
Man, you're still leading. Yeah, you're still leading no matter whether you're enlisted or you're out here with us. Vets that have been retired or separated. You're still leading, man. It's just, I think that's probably who you are, the leader. You know what I mean? That's your role, and I guess it's showing, no matter where you go. You know what I mean? If you at a McDonald's, you'll probably be managing that place, as a cashier. Yeah. So that's incredible, man. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Of course.
Yeah. One of the things that I wanted to ask you, and this is just kind of more of a curiosity for me. I know when you first joined, when you were young, 18, what year was that?
1978.
Okay, yeah, so that was a while back. A lot of things have been different. A lot of things are different from then to how they are now, from like a social aspect, from the way that we kind of look at things, from the way we treat each other. I was just curious, being Mexican American, joining the military at that time, what was that like?
Well, back then, you didn't feel the racial tension as much as you do now.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, I come from a city that's divided by racial ethnicity. You got your east side, west side, south side, north side.
This is San Antonio, right? In case we didn't clarify that, he's from San Antonio. Yeah.
When you divide a city with the west side, east side, and you significantly say, oh, the west side belongs to the Mexicans, east side belongs to the black, south side is a mixture. North side is all white. Yeah. So what do you have there? It's you're splitting the city up. Yeah. We should all be in. Don't worry about the west side, east side, north side, south side. Just make it one city.
Just San Antonio.
Just make it a melting pot where we're all together. When I joined the Army the first time, that's what it was like.
Really?
Because you're in the military, you're going to be there for a long time. So if you don't like somebody, go up to them. Hey, you know what? Let's go take care of this right now. And if we become friends, we're friends. If not, you go your way and I go my way. Yep. That's how simple it was. Yep. 20 some odd years later, it's changed where the military has actually acquired a lot of different type of class. When I say different type of class, more of the hood type, kids that came from gangs and, this and that and other, and they carried themselves that way, because I saw a lot of it, and I'm like, man, hopefully this war will open their eyes and make them realize that, hey, we need each other.
There's something bigger than all of that. Yeah.
We need each other, and and it did, because some of these kids that thought they were, gangbangers and stuff, at the end they were really appreciative, and how I stuck by them and did what I told them I was going to do, keep you alive. Wow. But I got injured, came back home.
Yeah. Hey, man, you have your reasons, right? There's higher calling at stake here. Yeah.
I mean, I've always said, man, I want to win the lottery. I'll get it, even if it's $1,000 a week. That'd be perfect, right? So after I got injured and I got out of the hospital, and I started receiving my disability I said, well, there it is. You're getting paid $1,000 a week now. There's your lottery.
Yeah. you ask and you shall receive. Yeah.
Even though I sustained a lot of injuries, but
Like
I'll be going for my 28th surgery. They're going to do a neck surgery and coming up pretty soon.
Man.
But that'll be number 28. And then number 29 will be my lower back.
Gotcha, man. That's rough.
I'm going for 30.
Like, keep them coming, Doc.
They call me RoboCop.
That's funny, man. When did you end up finding out about Soldiers Angels? How did you hear about us? And
that was in fact, Soldiers Angels was actually Paramount and 410, right across the highway from where they're located now. And I don't know if it was an email or something that I received that Soldiers Angels was passing out stockings for Christmas. So I had 2 stepdaughters, and I said, well, let's go, check it out. So we went to the building, and Soldiers Angels had all these volunteers passing out stockings. And I'd say about a month, 2 months later, I went to a food drive, which is off of 410 in Walsall area in San Antonio. And in this food drive, this was my first time actually passing out food to the veterans. So that right there caused me to want to do more than just serve this food. I was approached to see if I would do traffic. I was like, sure, what does it entail? So they told me, and now 7 years later, I'm the traffic control guy, and I still do it.
David's always out there directing traffic.
Yes,
better believe it.
Yeah, and the heat, rain, ooh, and the cold. Yeah, but like I said, anything that we can do for our veteran families, we have to do it. So much sacrifice. People don't realize that even the spouse has sacrificed when the husband or the wife goes to war. They leave behind, a single person.
A family. Yep.
A single person having to raise a family. And that's one of the things that Soldiers Angels does is shows appreciation to the spouses.
Spouses, yep.
By doing things for them. You have to acknowledge that, just because they were not in uniform, they still served.
Yep.
They served as long as their husbands or wives were military, they were serving.
Yeah.
By taking care of the family.
Absolutely.
And it's one of the most difficult things for a woman, because when I left my son to go to war, he was 4 years old. And, and the whole reason too is like, I had to do something for my son. My job, it was getting kind of scary, doing telephone sales. They're dropping. Like, hey, we're going to go to this company. We're going to go to this company. Like, what is going on that all these companies are dropping? So when I joined the Army, when I went to Iraq, it was like a financial change for me, because I knew that when I was fighting in Iraq, they were still getting money.
Yeah.
And that took care of it.
That made you feel better about it. Yeah, it made you feel like I can do this. Yeah. No, absolutely, man. That makes total sense. And I remember when, I don't know if I was in the Navy for 4 years. Yeah. And I remember exactly that. I was deployed in Japan, and even time when there was peace, it was like, they're still deployed. And I remember a lot of my friends who had wives and kids back home, they were like, it's nice to be out here. It was different for me. I was young, single. So to me, it was like, this is awesome. It's cool that I'm out here. A lot of the work is stressful, and some people I don't like, but other than that, it's great. But I remember a lot of those guys were like, yeah, it's cool to be out here, but it doesn't feel like I can't be that happy because my wife's not here, and I have my daughter back home, and I just miss them. And I was like, now being older, having my own wife, having my own kid, I'm like, dude, I couldn't imagine being away for that long. And like, that's crazy. And I was like, and it really is where the spouse supports, the spouse serves as well. Exactly. And they deserve some acknowledgement also.
Yeah, I remember when, it has nothing to do with the spouse. It just came to my head. We were sitting in BIAP, and BIAP is Baghdad International Airport. And we had our 2 flatbeds, we had cover because it was going to start drizzling, rain. And we're all sitting around listening to music, and somebody put on a song by, I can't remember this guy's country singer's name, but If Tomorrow Never Comes. And I'm like, are you kidding me? And he's like, what? I said, listen to what he's saying. If tomorrow never comes, well, she know how much I love her. I said, you're calling her deathbed right there, baby. No, man.
I don't like this, man.
I don't like this at all. I said, put something that's going to be cheerful, not this depressing.
Just like, I'll see you tomorrow, baby. Or something like that.
Welcome home.
Yeah, I know. Give me something to jam to.
That song right there stuck in my head. And I'm like, why?
Yeah, like, no.
Why would somebody write the song like that?
That's funny, man.
I'm sorry, Garth.
It's like, I think I know. That might be it, man. Oh, that's funny. All right, so we'll go ahead and start wrapping it up. I was just going to ask the couple last questions that we ask all our guests right before we end it. If you had any advice for anybody who would be considering joining any kind of branch of the military, would you want to give them advice? What would you tell them?
If you're going to join the military, I was in the Army. They're great for me. But to me, I think the Air Force would probably be the best choice, followed by the Army, the Navy, and then, of course, the rest. But, yeah, I would go straight Air Force. I mean, they'll take care of you. They're there for you. The Army was there for me, too. And Navy, of course, took care of you.
Yeah, they did.
But, yeah, so just pushing for the Air Force. They really took care of me when I was injured. And that's what really made me feel like, you know what? If I could have changed everything, go back and study harder to get a better grade in my ASVAB, I would have joined the Air Force. But I was too busy doing other stuff, not worried about my future. That's why I joined the Army.
Makes sense. Yeah. So, for sure, try joining the Air Force. And if not, just join. Yeah, just join. That's right. And I guess another question. What does it mean to you to be a veteran?
Well, man, it's an honor, a privilege. You know, it's just, every time I hear the word veteran, I really think about everybody that served. They actually served. When I did my 4 years the first time, I wasn't considered a veteran. You know, you did 4 years and you're a civilian. That's it. Now, after coming back in and actually earning the right to call myself a veteran was different. Like back then, 4 years, no veteran. This time, 2 years in the hospital, I'm a veteran. And, you know, the acknowledgement helps a lot.
Makes sense. Yeah.
Thank you for your service. Just about anything that has to do with appreciating what we do means a lot to me.
Makes sense. Yeah. And then lastly, if there was any advice, or what do you think is the best way for maybe general population to maybe better understand veterans? Do you have any advice for that?
Yeah, I think that, you know, if you haven't walked the walk, if you haven't been in those shoes, at least take the time to hear a veteran talk, that we have a better understanding of what they've gone through. Not just say, hey, thank you for your service, but know what type of service they rendered.
What are you thanking them for?
Yeah. You know, are you thanking them because they wore a uniform? Are you thanking them because they got injured? You know, why are you thanking us? Get to know us. Get to find out who we are as veterans. Not every person that served is a veteran. You know, you have war veterans. You got era veterans. You know, you have the Vietnam era, and they're considered veterans. The war veterans. But getting to know who we are and why they call us veterans, I think is more of an in-depth of how you're going to feel knowing what a veteran is.
Makes sense. Yeah, it's a great answer. David, it's been a fantastic interview, man.
Hey,
it's always a pleasure to talk to you. It's always a pleasure to see you around here.
Thanks.
If any of you guys ever volunteer at the San Antonio Food Distribution and there's a guy pointing at you to stop or to go, it's David. But I promise he does it with a smile, and we love to have him. David, thank you so much for the interview. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you, man. Yep.